Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi wa kafa wa salamun ala ibadihi alladhina istafa. لا سيما المصطفى صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Praise be to Allah alone, we praise Him and we seek His help. Whomsoever Allah guides is the truly guided one, and whomsoever Allah leaves astray, no one can show him guidance. May the best peace and blessings be upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Dear brothers and sisters, welcome to a new edition of Ask Huda. Tonight's edition is kind of very special because we have a very special guest. That is Sheikh Yusuf Estes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's a pleasure having you, Sheikh Yusuf. Thank you so much for joining us live.
You guys say here in Egypt, you say, Forza Saida.
Forza Saida.
Makes me so happy to have a chance to be with you.
It's always nice to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. Jazakallah khair. Ask Huda is about answering questions pertaining halal and haram, do's and do not do's. And any question that we will receive, inshallah, today concerning da'wah, particularly reverts, new Muslims, or those who are thinking about entering Islam, will be more than happy to give them the priority and present them directly to Sheikh Yusuf, who is an expertise in this field. Alhamdulillah.
Let's don't say expert. You know, in Texas, you met me in Texas, you remember? And in Texas, we say expert. We mean X, you cross it out, and spurt. So don't go me.
I mean, you really have an experience in this field.
Alhamdulillah.
Barakallah.
Alhamdulillah.
Jazakallah khairan. Thank you so much. We do also have some pending questions. In addition to email questions, we'll do our best, inshallah, to tackle them. Our phone numbers are as usual. Both lines are working today. The area code is 002-0238-555, 248 or 249, and the email address is ask@huda.tv. Please go ahead and ring us in. Hopefully, inshallah, we'll be able to accommodate all your calls and answer your questions and concerns. There was a very important call pending from the last episode concerning a disease. A man who's carrying a sickle cell anemia and he wants to marry someone who also has it, where the possibility of having children who would be deformed or deformity would be born with deformity is really great, because this is a genetic disease and it can be inherited. So the question is it okay or not okay, halal or haram, knowing that their children may be affected by this disease? First of all, if we're talking about halal and haram, yes or no, it is permissible. But if we're talking about the preferability, it is not preferable. It is not recommended. She is not the last person on earth, nor is he the last man on earth. Because also one of the most important reasons behind getting married is to leave behind a goodly offspring. The invocation that is said in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described the dua of Ibadur Rahman. They said, رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ وَاجْعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. So if I say yes, it is permissible, then I would advise them not to have children. And it may work for the first couple of years, but afterward they will miss that. So no matter how much the love bond and the relationship is very, very strong, but they will miss having children and they may regret that. So my advice is, if you guys did not get married yet, it is better to look for somebody who does not have the disease, to minimize the chances of transmitting the disease to your children, and also to have wonderful children in the future, inshallah, who will help you to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and who will remember you in their dua after a long life, because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam consider leaving behind a righteous child, whether a boy or a girl, who would pray for you after death, is a great blessing, that it is one of the means, one of the three means of having a continuous reward. Sheikh Yusuf, what do you think in this regard?
I think you gave the right answer exactly. Not being an expert, as we said, it occurred to me about Adam and Eve. How when they were the only people on earth, they didn't have any choice. They had to be married to each other, and children came from them, very good children, I'm sure. But at the same time, these, as you said, this is not the only choices out there. But sometimes people have so much love one for the other, they can't help it. They want to be married. And it would be a big test for them. But you didn't use the word I was expecting to hear. I thought you were going to say makruh. Because I hear this word so much associated with fatwa when they say, well, it's not haram, but it's close to it.
Now, I can't say it's haram, nor is it makruh. It is permissible. No, it is not.
Okay.
We have the first caller of today, Brother Sulaiman. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm calling from London.
Assalamu alaikum, Sulaiman. How are you? Calling from London, okay?
Naam.
We're going to be seeing you, inshallah, in a few days there.
Yeah?
Inshallah.
Yeah. The one question is, Huda TV is gone from Hotbird. I am very disappointed about that. I hope, hopefully, if you can put it, no Hotbird, put it on UK one, the beside Peace TV or other TV, because really Huda TV is helping people in Muslim. There is so many Muslims in London. I mean, if you can put it on 28 East degree, which is cover all Britain and Ireland, is all very important for us. And the second question I want to ask you, Sheikh, especially Sheikh Yusuf, about is allowed to work in a church?
To work in a church?
Yes.
What kind of job is it?
Anything helping people. I'm a Muslim,
but you're not going to be a priest there, right?
No.
Okay.
Just working in a church. Maybe I will turn them to Islam, because
okay.
Working in, yeah.
Sulaiman, we got your questions. The first question, thank you so much. It can be better than that. I mean, have we engineered a phone call or pre-organized it? It wouldn't have been that to the point.
Yes, that's
basically,
true. That's
a few days ago, they talk Huda TV of the hot bird, obviously because of not paying the bills. So it is not being seen.
The fancy way to say it is lack of proper funding. We ran out of bucks.
Whatever you say, sir.
Yeah. That's the reason I'm here, by the way. More than anything else, I want to see us get back on the hot bird. That's my main focus, is to help Huda get back on the hot bird. And other places as well. We have the Guidance TV in the United States, and we want Huda coming over there with us, because we really need this kind of support from quality programs that are on Huda. And as far as the other question is concerned, I personally wouldn't want to ever go back to church at all, because I worked in a church before. And for me, I couldn't do it. And to even answer the question, I would be so prejudiced to say no, that I can't be objective. So I have to give you the question. Can somebody work in a church?
That's smart for you.
You like that?
First of all, I would also like to say, with regards to our beloved viewers in Europe, particularly not being able to see us live on Hotbird, it's sad to know that due to lack of proper funding, they won't be able to appear on Hotbird anymore. Even though the main purpose and objective of Huda TV and Guide Us or Guide US TV is to propagate the da'wah of Islam to non-Arabic speakers, Muslims who are living in the West, and they are in desperate need for Islamic education, proper Islamic education.
Absolutely.
From an authentic source. And the second is to preach Islam to non-Muslims. Sheikh Yusuf, we have many people who have called in live and accepted Islam by watching some of our programs. And it is really amazing, even some of those programs are 100% presented and directed towards Muslims, answering their questions or, teaching them how to practice Islam properly. And we were shocked to know that there are many non-Muslims who are watching closely and following these programs. So this is a blessing, but unfortunately, we're short-handed. We cannot do much about it. I'll let you cover this after we take this phone call. Assalamu alaikum. Brother Hamza from KSA. Assalamu alaikum, Hamza.
Wa alaikum assalam, ya Sheikh. كيف حالك?
Alhamdulillah wa shukrullah. Thank you for asking.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How is everybody there?
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Hamza. Do you have a question?
Yes, sir. I have two questions.
Go ahead.
First question is about the ring which we wear, men. Should it have the stone or something, or we can wear any chain ring?
Okay.
And the second question is about interest. Our account teacher is saying that it is not interest, just inflation in the nation, and something she was explaining. Actually, I don't know what is exactly interest is. So can you explain about that and how it is prohibited?
Are you talking about the bank interest?
Yes, yes, bank interest.
Okay. So what's your question about it?
I want an explanation about what is bank interest and
Okay.
haram,
Okay.
so that I can explain it to the teacher.
Okay. Thank you, Hamza. Jazakallah khair. We have two questions about the ring and whether it should have a stone or not, and the interest and its definition. We'll go back to what you have to say about the role of the Muslim Ummah in respect of supporting the deen and propagating the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And let me rephrase it. The non-Muslims' rights on Muslims, particularly the greatest right of knowing about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't they have a great right upon us, our non-Muslim neighbors in the States, in Texas or in Virginia, or anywhere, in London, in anywhere in Europe, in Egypt? Don't they have a great right upon us to learn about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What do we have to do in order to fulfill this right? And what is the role of the Islamic media which would waive this right by going into anybody's house, enter their houses to deliver the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
Jazakallah khair. I'd appreciate that caller with these good questions. So, first of all, I was sitting here listening to the question and also your explanation of what we need, and remembering 20 years ago when I came to Islam, it was so dry. It was like a desert out there trying to find information about Islam at all. Now I was thinking today, look how many different ways that we can actually find about Islam. You have the internet, which is loaded with all kinds of information, albeit not so good sometimes. We have easy to get emails, be in touch with people, text messages, phone calls are much easier today, Skype, as you know. And also the contact with so many Muslims is more prevalent throughout the Western world. And especially TV, Huda TV, Peace TV, and now Guide Us TV. This is absolutely an obligation on all of us to get it out there and do it. There's no doubt about that.
You know, Sheikh Yusuf, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Do you know that the fiqh committees have issued a fatwa that it is permissible to support the da'wah causes, especially to non-Muslims, especially to Muslims who are living in the West, from the zakah fund, as one of the means of fi sabilillah, one of the 8 categories as mentioned in verse number 60 of Surah At-Tawbah, wa fi sabilillah. Fi sabilillah is not just limited to on a battlefield, but any mean of delivering the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by notifying people about it, whether the internet, as you said, or publishing books, or prison da'wah, or da'wah at the university, at
I
the
spent
campus.
a lot of years doing both of those.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah wa shukrulillah.
I would like to visit one topic you mentioned about people calling in and doing shahada. You know, we opened up Guide Us TV officially on January 1st of this year. So we're only like, 4 months old?
Correct.
We're babies.
Yeah.
But even in the very first days, when we opened up the phone line and said people could call in, they flooded our phone line. We only have one cell phone I'm carrying.
Yeah.
But can you imagine, we couldn't figure out how all these people are watching so fast, and so many non-Muslims. And we had already people accepting Islam.
Alhamdulillah wa shukrulillah.
So this is, when you were talking, I was thinking, this is the area where we're the weakest. We talk about a lot of things, in general, about what is Islam, mother's rights, children's rights, parents' rights. We even mention enemies' rights, but we don't talk about the rights that non-Muslim have for us, just as being good human beings to them.
Yeah.
And how about the best thing you can do, as you said, where they need to know who's Allah.
We're going to continue talking about the same topic after I take several phone calls been pending. Assalamu alaikum, Fatima from Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Go ahead, Fatima.
Walaikum salam.
Wa alaikum
Wa
salam.
alaikum salam wa
I
rahmatullah.
have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I want to ask you that female circumcision, whether it is permissible or whether it was done in the times of the Prophet.
The confession?
Yeah.
Confession. Okay.
I didn't
Thank you,
hear the
Fatima.
question.
I believe she's asking about confessing your sin before a religious
Like a
authority.
priest or something.
Yes. Sister Saba from United Arab Emirates. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam, Sheikh Salam. It is so wonderful to see both of you together today, and
Jazakumullah.
seeing Sir Yusuf Estes after a long time. It's really nice.
Thank you.
May Allah bless you both.
Jazakumullah khair.
Sir, I have two questions.
Go ahead.
One is that most of my non-Muslim friends, sometimes they ask me, copies of the Quran, and they would like to read or know, what is written in that, especially the Hindus. So are we permitted to give them the copies of the Quran with the English translation along with Arabic verses? Because whenever we touch the Holy Quran, we are in a state of wudu and purity. So should we give them or should we not give them, or should we only give them the English translation? That is one.
Okay.
And second is, the question is that are we permitted to publish books with the Islamic publications like the Fortress of the Muslim and all with our money, and if we distribute the copies in free, will we get the reward of maximum people reading it?
Okay.
Or do we do it only for people who are dead or what? I have no idea.
Okay. Thank you, Sister Saba. Jazakumullahu khairan. Hassan from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum, Hassan.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Go ahead.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Yeah, I hear you, Hassan. Go ahead and present your question.
Yeah, actually, regarding the Islamic perspective about education generally, right? Because in some aspects, in some area in Nigeria, some people believe ladies are not really encouraged, are not really expected to probably go as far as going to secondary school, going to university level. They think probably it's encouraged for women to get married on time, earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the Islamic perspective on this? Because when you probably examine the time at which a lady will reach puberty stage, right, it may probably be a center stage. In such a case, we fathers like this, probably how can we phantom things like this? So that probably we'll be able to keep in line with the injunction of Allah in terms of not delaying your girl or your lady or your daughter. Not keeping her too longer than necessary to get married. So what can we do so that we'll be able to probably blend the issues of being in line with the injunction of Allah?
Okay. Thank you, Hassan. Jazakallah khairan. Thank you for calling in. Safiya from Palestine.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I have two questions for the questions.
Yeah, go ahead, Safiya.
My first question is, I'm a second wife. I'm married for 3 years now, mashallah.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a son. Before we got married, my husband made a kind of condition with me that he could only visit me twice a week because nobody knew about the marriage. He said that after a while, when everything will be okay and everybody will know, then it will just go back to normal, as the deen says. Mashallah, he's a very good husband and very good brother, and he keeps the deen properly. And now everybody knows, obviously, and he's still not coming the way he should. Now, I mentioned it only twice in the past 3 years, and the last time when I mentioned it, he said that he rather having a divorce than to fall in haram.
I'm sorry, what was that again?
He said that he rather having a divorce than to fall in haram. That if I demand 1 night, 1 night, then he rather having a divorce than to do anything that's haram. And I didn't accept what he said to me. I basically mentioned it in a very nice way. I don't demand it. I just think that that's the way of the deen and that's what we should do.
Okay, Safiya. Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you. Sheikh Yusuf, back to the main topic, which is the non-Muslims' rights upon Muslims. to learn about Islam. I do remember a few years back, post-September the 11th, when an FBI specialist and expertise came on Fox News, and he was drawing a picture of who could be a sleeper.
What's a sleeper?
A sleeper is, you know more than I do.
You mean like somebody that's there amongst the community acting like just a normal guy, all of a sudden he turns out to be like a terrorist.
And it was shocking to me to hear that these guys were actually describing every ordinary Muslim to be a sleeper. He may be a doctor or an engineer, a professional. He's very nice to his neighbors. He's quiet, does not make noise. His kids are disciplined. They go to the best schools. They're very quiet. Things of this nature. Perhaps he's never got a traffic ticket in his life. So I thought this is really...
The guy that's the safe one is the one that's in prison. He's killed some people. He does this and that and so on. So this is a good Muslim to him? That doesn't make any sense.
So he was saying, this is what they were talking about. After that, we started having some people, professional people, lawyers, law officials. They came to visit us in order to learn about us. We normally, every once in a while, we throw a party or an open house in order to educate people about Islam, but this time they came without an invitation. One lawyer came, and he was a very famous lawyer in town.
A Muslim or non-Muslim?
Non-Muslim.
He's not Muslim and he came, okay.
Yes, and we had a potluck, then afterward I had a lecture.
Potluck?
So potluck. And
odd food.
So he joined us both on dinner and attended the lecture, and afterward he pointed the blame gun to us, and he said, why don't you go out to everybody and tell people who you are? You guys are good people. You need to tell people that this channel is lying about you and this person is lying about you. You have to confront the whole world about your reality. And I was wearing a thawb. He said, you know what? I'm ready and I'm willing to put on your thawb right now on, because I believe you guys are very good and I would like to be one of you in a minute. And that was a single meeting in North Carolina, and I believe you visited the same place. I walked into one center and I found a guy who was teaching the Quran. He told me his story. This guy, who's a Quranic teacher, was a former military man, or he was still in the army, and he said right after what he heard about Muslims, the negative stereotyping.
So he was not a Muslim while he's in the army?
When he was a Muslim, after he became a Muslim, he was still in the army.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is that was his career. When he was informed about that, he decided to look for any Islamic center in the Yellow Pages. He called one and he visited them. And his wife was so scared that he would be kidnapped or he would be killed or whatever. And when he entered the masjid and he saw how Muslims are so disciplined and organized after the Iqamah is called, and they make the same move, what really impressed him most, because he's a military man, the way Muslims pray. In the second visit, he accepted Islam. And he dedicated himself to learn the Quran. Then he became a Quranic teacher in the center. Nowadays, they're building a huge center, and he's the imam of this center.
He became the imam?
Correct. Because after a few years of studying Islam, Quran, in Arabic, in Ahkam, when I saw him sitting and teaching the Muslim youngsters, our children, and this guy was teaching them the Quran, I was very, very impressed. I'm trying to make a point, which is that these guys, once they know about the deen, number one, we establish the proof. Now you know. You have no excuse. Number two, I believe what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said is the ultimate truth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make His deen prevail over all other religions. No matter how much opposition it faces, if all the media on earth constantly stereotyping and bashing Islam and Muslims, still the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will prevail. But the problem, Sheikh Yusuf, is that the Ummah is not really doing much in order to fulfill this prophecy. Don't you agree?
Not only do I agree 100% with you, I have to tell you that I think of the Muslims as sleeping. So if he said we're sleepers, he's right. We're sound asleep. I mean, we're almost in a coma in the West as far as that goes. But as far as being a danger to anybody, we're only a danger to ourselves. Because when we don't carry this message, then we have not fulfilled a part of our purpose.
Correct.
And when we don't fulfill our purpose, Allah, He didn't need us to start with. How much more are we down in the sight of Allah when we don't carry this message to the people, when we've been ordered to in Quran and by the Sunnah of the Rasul. It's a simple message. How come we're not showing it? And I don't mean just to say it, stand on a street corner, pass out some documents and run away. I'm talking about live the life of the Muslim. Let the people see, who's this nice neighbor? You know, in every place that I've lived, I've made sure, since I've been Muslim, to go around and meet my neighbors. And at first that was hard for me to do, because in America we don't do that, you know. But in one place I lived, I knew every single neighbor all the way around me, and they knew us by the cookie lady. Well, yeah, because my wife used to make cookies, and we would take them to the masjid on Friday, and this was how we lived, really, selling cookies. And do you know, the people called me Mr. Cookie Lady. I don't know how that works, but they knew me by those beautiful cookies that she made.
So Sister Khadija is doing da'wah from home?
From the oven.
I'll comment on that, inshallah, after I take this phone call from Rima. She's a young viewer. She's only 9 years old, calling from Amman. Assalamu alaikum, Rima. Oman.
Assalamu alaikum, uncle.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
If I recite a few lines from a big surah in the salah and not till the full verse, is it permissible?
Okay.
And my second question is, we have some plants in our balcony. When the wind blows, the dry leaves fall in our neighbor's balcony. Are we hurting their feelings?
Okay.
Uncle, my sister has also one question.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum, uncle.
Wa alaikum salam, Rima's sister. What's your name now?
My name is Rania.
Rania.
Uncle, can I hang my doll on the wall?
Okay. Yes, Rania, you can hang your doll against the wall. And Rima's question, inshallah, will be answered in a little bit. Thank you so much. Sheikh Yusuf, before we go to a short break, I remember in Tulsa, Oklahoma, there's a very beautiful Islamic center in a Muslim community, very united, mashallah, la quwwata illa billah. In every Muslim occasion, they would buy sweet enough for the entire neighborhood. And they would pass a pack of pastry, sweet, baklawa, and to every Muslim neighbor, every neighbor in the community, non-Muslims. And that had a great impact. People would just come, stop by and visit, get to know who are those people. And this is one community where I've seen the biggest number of reverts because of this approach of introducing itself to the neighbors. Can you imagine if we do have several Islamic channels or different channels which is propagating the Islamic media properly, how many people will get to know about this deen? Can you imagine?
Never underestimate the power of the sweet tooth.
Yeah, of course. Okay, let's take some sweet, inshallah, in a short break. Brothers and sisters, stay tuned, hang around, do not go anywhere. Inshallah, we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
In your standpoint of view, are there specific or certain criteria to choose your spouse or a partner, to marry or not to marry? Maybe that's the question. Do we revise the quality of performance of our treatment between the family members as fathers or mothers? As they say usually, it's not what you say, it's how would you say it. Wouldn't you like to be a good storyteller for your kids? Neurobiologically speaking, child abuse and emotional trauma causes scars in the brain of the child, and this might be not easily healing. What's the exact job description of a father? Is it clothing, payments, and feeding, or other important things? Well, I think the job description of a father is merely giving him love and care, self-confidence, giving him sense of security, and checking for the points of strengths to stress on them. What about potty training and its planning? Oh yeah, actually, it's a state, it's a condition. Fatherhood is not a body or a person, it's a state. Are you a good or skillful designer for the policy and the long-term plans of the life of your kids? Join us every Wednesday for Family Issues.
brothers and sisters, in particular brothers, husbands, divorce is the last resort.
Even when I was given the topic, the art of divorce, I was thinking, why are we talking about a divorce?
As they say in management, do you take serious decisions when you are angry? No one is taking a very serious decision in his life, maybe in his business, while you are angry.
A divorce happening every 6 minutes.
We are not talking about enjoying the divorce, but we are talking about certain steps to be followed in order to avoid divorce or minimize the possibility of divorce or minimize the consequences of divorce. Any divorce taking place have many ill effects. So we would like to minimize those ill effects.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. We have, mashallah, many questions pending, but I guess we also have a phone call. Assalamu alaikum. Halima?
Alaikum assalam.
Wa alaikum assalam, Sister Halima. How are you?
Good evening, Sheikh.
Good evening.
Mine is not a question, but rather a contribution.
Go ahead, please.
Okay. I would like the organizers of such a program to please innovate a program relating to Sifat Salat Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That is how does Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So many of us, we engage in praying, but we don't know how it has been instructed. Okay, we like to know how does Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam teaches the way to pray, the way to bow, the way to go to sujood and or frustration. So please, I would like you to innovate such a program at least once in a week that will educate.
You know we already have a program that covers this issue, and it is called the Prophet's Prayer. Did you ever get a chance to watch it?
I watch it.
I'm sure you do.
I love it.
If you didn't have a chance to see it, Sister Halima, you can actually download it from the YouTube or for San Haq or from Guide Us TV. It's available in many different websites. Thank you so much, Halim.
That is a great series. Let me give you a free plug on that one. Okay. I love it. Do you know it's the single most popular of all the shows we run in America? Is this one of learning the Salah. And I've had people call in and tell me about it. I received emails about it. They said, I learned my Salah. I told you over the phone about this.
Alhamdulillah, shukla. You know, once I almost shed tears when I heard that Sheikh Albani, may Allah have mercy on him, once was asked about if we ever one day have an Islamic media, like a Sheikh appears on the screen where he can talk and people would hear him and see him meanwhile. What would you think that we can present? So he said, teach people how to pray.
Exactly.
And teach people how to perform Hajj proper. Because Sheikh Yusuf, when we go for Hajj, we see tens of thousands of people doing amazing things, have nothing to do with Hajj. They wasted a lot of money.
They might even lose their Hajj if they do some of the really bad stuff.
Of course, some do not even get to go to Arafah because they do not know. So the role of Islamic media works in areas like that. Also with regards to the zakah and fasting and all of that. So alhamdulillah, shukrullah, Allah has helped us. You know, this is a very important point to merge with Saba's question. She asked about distributing copies or making copies of different books such as The Fortress of the Muslim to people in order to read and benefit out of that. She said, do we get reward out of that, or we only do it for the dead so that we will send the reward or do on their behalf in order to be rewarded? The Prophet ﷺ said, as you know, الدال على الخير له أجر فاعله. One who guides to righteousness.
Whoever calls to a good deed will get the same reward as the one who does the good deed and take nothing away from them. That's the reward.
Can I say that every person who participated in establishing a channel
The
like yours.
publisher, if he's doing it for the sake of Allah, the one who's paying for it, the one who is distributing it, the one who, even the editor who checks it to make sure, everybody who participates in
And
this.
that
could do it.
word echoes everywhere. That work is beneficial and is in use.
And if
Even if
somebody
the person-
copies it and gives it to somebody else, you would get the reward for what he did. That's why I always tell people, take everything we have, copy it and distribute it, and tell other people to copy and distribute it.
Thank you. Jazakallah khairan. May Allah bless you. Mazin from Oman. Salam alaikum. Mazin, I'm sorry. You need to mute your TV. Lower the volume on your TV or mute it completely, Mazin, so we can hear you.
My question?
Mm-hmm.
My question is, drawing is haram?
Drawing is haram? No, it is not haram. It depends. Mazin, it depends what you're drawing. And I will let Sheikh Yusuf tell you what you should draw and what you should not. Go ahead,
I
Sheikh Yusuf.
just answered that question on the Islam Newsroom today.
Yeah.
If you go to islamnewsroom.com, you'll find that there's a big explanation behind all of it. But it simply said, drawing in general is absolutely no problem. Art is beautiful in
Exactly.
Islam. But drawing anything that has a soul, an animal or a human being, these are the areas where the ulama are very clear about it, that doing it without a purpose could be haram. And when I say without a purpose, for medical reasons, you draw the skeletal outline, you might need to draw the organs of the body, things like that, because the doctor needs to know these things. Also, in the case of the children, that they want to have their little cartoons that help them to better understand good principles. But in all, across the board, drawing human beings, like you see a lot of the Japanese that are doing right now with the big eyes and stuff, this is, let me say for sure, not good. Could be haram.
Jazakallah khairan. So if you, Mazin, avoid drawing human beings or living things, creatures with souls, then you're fine, you're cool. As a matter of fact, almost when I was at your age, I was very talented in drawing, and I even drew a picture of my dad. And when I knew from my shiur that it is haram, I was very saddened with this news, because it was my only hobby back then besides karate. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens plenty of doors for me. So when I say amongst my hobbies, I paint, everybody would think the sheikh is painting, this is haram. Well, it is as we say, painting is halal as long as you avoid this area which is restricted. When you paint the nature, the roses, the trees, the sky, any other creature other than creatures with souls, human beings and animals, you're fine, you're on the right track, inshallah. So enjoy.
Sometimes, though, people leave part of this out. We talk about the drawing, but you know, when you take clay or something like mud or something and you form an animal or you form a human being, this is very clearly wrong too.
Yeah,
making the statues.
Yes.
We used to be in that business before I came to Islam, and when I found I couldn't do that anymore, I say, you know, we're leaving a very profitable business. I leave the music business, because, as you know, musical instruments are a big problem, and the statue business. I said, what's left? What is there for me to do?
SubhanAllah. But Allah opens for you the greatest doors, alhamdulillah, for provision and for reward as well. Also, Saba asked about passing on copies of the Quran to Hindus and non-Muslims. In their language or the language that they understand other than Arabic, that's perfectly fine. What do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. How else will they know? But I'd like to make a point about something. In the early days, the scholars didn't worry about making translations. They worried about translating the people.
Yeah.
Translating the people to come over to the right way of thinking, acting, believing, and also in the right way of hearing and speaking. And the Quran is doing all of this for a person. So they would work on helping a person get to Islam and teach them the Arabiya. So if we could teach people Arabic, even word by word, is better. But yes, you can translate, but it's only going to be part of the meaning. It'll never be exactly.
Sheikh Yusuf, what do you think about this foolish, improper activities of certain people burning the Quran in the States? How did you guys react to it? And especially when they think that they have burned the Quran.
I was there in September in Florida when this Terry Jones wanted to burn the Quran. And Sheikh Musri, who is the Orlando Sheikh, you know, he went to speak to him. And he heard me several times. I gave the speech right in front of the Sheikh, saying to the people, if they want to burn it, let's give them the Musahaf, which are damaged. These are the books which are having damage in them, pages are missing, children have written in them, and so on. So these are supposed to be destroyed according to Islamic law anyway. And how is the best way to do it? Throw them in the ditch? No. Throw them in the garbage? No. The best way is...
But obviously...
And I said, let's send him a whole truckload. You want to burn them up, and then you can deal with the environmental people. And he calmed down after that. But then he fired up again when he wasn't getting attention.
Because he's coming from a point of view where he thought that he can disgrace the Quran, he can get rid of the Quran. The fact that such an ignorant person does not know that the Quran is not just written in books. There are tens of millions of Muslims worldwide who have memorized and maintained the Quran by the heart. And that's why with the new Furqan that they made up in the States and distributed in many areas for free, it's not helping, because basically if there is the least error in any copy of the Quran anywhere, it can be detected by a child simply, and the Quran will be taken away, and the whole package of the copies of the Quran which have a little mistake or error, even in a vowel.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
You said even a child? My granddaughter lives in Medina now, alhamdulillah, with my daughter and her husband, you know. So she's hearing the pure Arabic there from him. He's studying this, you know. So I'm riding in the car with her one day. You know, she's little. She's very small, in the infant seat, you know. Maybe 3 years old at that time. And I was reciting Surah Fajr. And I feel like, you know, this is my granddaughter. I taught my daughter. I taught everybody. So I'm going to teach her. When I got done, she looks over at me. She says, I don't do English. I said, what? Because the way I recited it wasn't pure enough. Had mistakes in it. She didn't accept it. And this is my own granddaughter. You're right.
So, inshallah, hopefully, one day these people will come to recognize the truth.
Yes.
And recognize that the word of God cannot be simply burned.
No.
And there is only one way to deal with it, which is read it, understand it, and believe in it.
That's true.
Okay.
Well, one of the things we used to say, this is part of the mu'ajiza, or miracle of the Quran. If all the books on earth were destroyed, it is the only book on earth that could be brought back exactly, chapter for chapter,
word for word,
letter for letter, and even dot for
vowels.
dot.
Yeah.
Nobody could imagine such a thing unless they understand the Quran.
Alhamdulillah, shukla. Muhammad from Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, assalamu alaikum. And I'm sorry, I apologize to all the brothers and sisters who have been calling. I just couldn't interrupt the Sheikh. Assalamu alaikum, Muhammad.
Alaikum salam. It's very happy to see you together. My question is, please give a comprehensive answer about music in Islam. How much is it allowed, how much not allowed, which instruments in general not allowed, not allowed or not allowed.
Okay.
Please, which is very important. Another question, will you please allow?
طيب, Muhammad, I guess I get your question. Thank you so much. Hamza was asking earlier about the stone in the ring. Do we have to wear a stone?
I'm interested to hear the answer to that. What does Islam say?
Wearing a ring is a custom. Yeah, the Prophet ﷺ wore a ring in his right hand, and he ordered to avoid wearing the ring in the thumb or in the middle finger. So wearing the ring would be in that finger.
Okay, now here's my right hand. So if I wore it on the little finger,
that's
this
fine,
would be...
and that's fine.
On the next
middle,
one?
Yes.
But not this one?
Not the middle, nor the thumb.
Not the thumb.
So the Prophet ﷺ wore a ring which has his name printed on it. He have used it as a seal. And that's why the word khatam came from. Khatam means a seal. Or khatim, where he would seal his letters.
Sealing, like they used to use sealing wax on a letter or envelope.
Exactly.
Well, I want to ask a question about this, if I can. I don't take people's time, but if somebody said, well, I want to wear a ring, but I want just a stone, I don't need it to have my name, I want to put it on this finger.
That's perfectly fine.
Is
As
it
I said,
okay?
it's not something that you have to do. Bottom line, it is permissible, with a stone or without.
What about this hand?
And the left hand, that's fine as well.
Oh, okay.
As long as you avoid, as I said, the middle and the the thumb.
Okay.
And you avoid wearing gold. Precious stones is permissible.
But a woman could wear the gold.
Of course.
Okay, but wait a minute. One more thing before we leave it. What about the custom that people, when they get married, put this ring on the finger? Because I know that when, like the nuns in the Catholic Church, they put the ring, they say Father, Son, Holy Ghost, and put it there. And some people believe in this as being something to do with Christianity. What does Islam say?
I guess you just presented the answer already. I'll be just repeating what you said. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The younger viewer, Rima, 9 years old, asked about the plants on her balcony, blowing some leaves on the neighbor's balcony and so on. This is really sensitive from you, and thank you so much for asking this question. And as a matter of fact, Islam have a lot to talk about that. The Prophet ﷺ forbade a neighbor from building a wall or erecting a building that is higher than his neighbor's building, because it may block the air or the wind or the sun. It will deprive him from the pure nature. So can you imagine, to that extent, anything that would hurt your neighbor is prohibited. At the time of Al-Hasan al-Basri, may Allah have mercy on him, when some people had rats in their houses, so a scholar was advised to put a poison, rat poison, in his house. He said, and what will happen to them? He said, they will run away. Go where? Go maybe to the neighbor's house. So he refused, because by kicking them out, they might attack his neighbor's house. To that extent, we were ordered that if somebody is taking fruits or taking food to his kids, it's either maybe you're taking just a little bit because this is what you can afford, so conceal it so that your neighbors would not see it, and it may hurt their feeling if they cannot afford it, if the father cannot buy for his children likewise. Or you should share. And Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, once slaughtered the sheep, and he ordered his servant to take some to his neighbor. He said, but he's a Jew. He said, well, so even though I have heard the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam as saying, ما زال جبريل يوصيني بالجار حتى ظننت أنه سيورثه. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam has said, Angel Gabriel kept on advising me to be kind and gentle and take care of my neighbor so many times, so that I thought that he's going to be one of my heirs. He will inherit me after death.
Just like one of your own children or something, huh?
Family members.
That's amazing.
Imagine if your neighbor is your brother, your blood brother, or your son, or your daughter. So how would you treat them? Whatever you like for yourself. And the hadith is very obvious. My young son keeps repeating this hadith, is only 3, and he keeps saying, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. None of you would truly believe until he loves for his brother exactly as much as he loves for himself. Brothers and sisters, by the end, I cannot but thank Sheikh Yusuf so much. It was a pleasure having you. Jazakumullah khairan for stopping by, and hopefully, inshallah, we'll get to see you next episode as well. And to you brothers and sisters, جزاكم الله خيرا for joining us. May Allah bless you all. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Till next time, السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Thank you, Sheikh Yusuf. جزاك الله خير.
Allah is my heart's speech. Your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test.